and it's due to the real cause, which I'm going to share with you. So let's go to the next slide. I just want to highlight the symptom. Let's go to symptom number 2. So symptom number 2 here is how ET is controlling your life. With ET, I mean emotional tone. Your emotional tone is your emotional state. We all live in emotional states from moment to moment, and some people have a tendency to maybe live further down on the emotional tone with apathy, grief, fear, anger, and some people live higher on the emotional tone. They're in peace, in a blissful, peaceful state. And other people have enthusiasm and they want to make things happen. And there's other people who are more in conservatism. And you might say, well, we can do, in the media could be like, you can have an enthusiastic person going, you can do, yeah, let's do this approach, I think we can really make it. And then you might have someone else in the business who might be more conservative, yeah, maybe we can. And if you have a fearful person in the meeting, they might go, yeah, but what about if this and this and this and this happens, what are we going to do? And that person is coming out of fear. So emotional tone is important, and it's our emotional tones, especially if we're on a if we're living here down here as a default emotional tone or default emotional state, then this is due to the real cause. The real cause is the birth of our negative emotions, our negative emotional tones, because your natural state is always on higher emotional tone. And you can see that if you look at a newborn baby, or when the baby can start to communicate a little bit, even though it's not with words, you can see that the baby has a higher emotional tone. Children have higher emotional tone than adults, and many times adults want to try to suppress a child's natural emotional high emotional tone. So we have that. Our natural state is a high emotional tone, but it's clouded by all these different, which I'm going to get into later, but these different factors that is coming from the real cause, and hence we experience ourselves living on the lower emotional tone. As we go through life, we get born, and as a child between 0 and 7, we have a lot of experiences, and as we go through, and we live in these higher emotional tones as children, but as life goes by, environment, society, experiences push down our life force, and we tend to start living on a lower emotional tone. You can have an emotional tone high momentarily. You can have an emotional tone low momentarily, depending on external factors. You might win the lottery, so even if you were in apathy, you might go up to enthusiasm. Or if you're in enthusiasm and then someone calls in the morning and says that you lost the one deal that would make you rich, then you might go from enthusiasm to anger. So we can have things in our environment and things in our external world that can trigger us to be in certain emotional states, but we all have, as human beings, we all have a place where we call home, where we tend to live. And your default place where you tend to live when it comes to your emotional tone is critical. You want to get it higher. And the reason you want to have your emotional tone higher is because people who have a higher emotional tone tend to not only experience life through those lenses of, for example, enthusiasm, so they live life through enthusiasm, and they experience a lot of enthusiasm in their physiology, and it's much more fun. Well, and by doing that, they're also going to make choices and take actions that are on a higher emotional tone. So you have higher emotional tone actions and that they choose. So someone who's on high emotional tone might choose to create things, while someone who's in grief or apathy might choose actions unconsciously that are destructive. So it's important for us as creative human beings to make sure that we can have a stable place on these higher emotional tones. As it says there, lousy emotional tone creates lousy results. And if you have fantastic emotional tones, you're going to create fantastic results. I don't think I need to spend more time here. I think you get what I mean with emotional tones and why it is important. Because when you live on high emotional tone, you're going to draw in or attract into your life, in your environment, people, places, things, situations that are going to resonate with your high emotional tone. If you're a lower emotional tone, you're going to draw in, attract people, places, events, situations that are aligned with these lower emotional tones. The way to change and shift and transform your life is to live on a high emotional tone. And what we're going to do here is the real cause that we're down here, or a lot of people are on the lower emotional tones as a default. I'm not talking about a social tone, emotional tone that you show in your workplace or in social situation. I'm talking about people's real, authentic, at the moment, genuine default emotional tone for society in general is quite low. So, and the reason it's low is because of the real cause. I know it sounds funny, it's because of the real cause, but I know you get the point. So let's move on to the next slide. So once we deal with the real cause, handle it, have the right approach, you'll naturally find yourself in the higher emotional tones. You don't have to force yourself, will yourself, you'll just find yourself there. So next symptom. So the next one is not making decisions and committing to an end result. This is symptom number 3. People come to a fork in the road, they don't know which decision to make, they're afraid of making decisions, and successful people have making decisions from a higher emotional tone, and then they commit to that decision until it's achieved. They have a strong intention and they're coming from inspiration. So success comes from, with success I mean living life on your terms, living life on your terms. That's what I mean by success. And high emotional tone people make decisions and then they commit to them. They don't care about the resources around them. They don't care about what other people think about it. They just decide and they go for it and they commit until it's done. People who fail come many times from low emotional tone decisions. They make decisions based upon fears and doubts. They look at the outside world and say, well, I don't have enough resources, or they're listening to other people, what they think about it, instead of following their own intuition, their own strength. And that, by not following your own strengths, your own strength, intention and inspiration, and go instead and listening to your fears and doubts and other people's opinions, OPO, and that's a low emotional tone decision. And most likely 99% of the time people don't commit to the end. So it's important here to understand that by dealing, and the reason we have fear and doubts again is due to the real cause, and by dealing with the real cause these fears, doubts disappear, and other people's opinions, listening to other people's opinions can be our need for approval or control, and those will disappear as well. So it's important to deal with the real cause. So I hope I got this symptom across and you got this message. It's important to make the decisions. I mean, an example could be, it just came to me here, so let me share it. An example could be, when you made a decision at some point to maybe start this new business, or write a book, or create a new song, or get into something else, a new career, a new job, and you were inspired and you made that decision from a high emotional tone of inspiration, for example. But then what happens? Then people tend to go to fear and doubt. Yeah, but can I really do it? Can I afford it? I'm not sure, I have to think about this. Can I really do it? I should maybe ask my mom, or I should ask my dad, or my wife or husband. And we start to get dispersed in our thinking instead of sticking with our decision. And it's important, as you know now, to make our decisions based on higher emotional tones, and we can do that naturally when we deal with the real cause, handle the real cause, and those fear, doubts, and will disappear, will be eliminated, and then we can start making strong decisions from higher emotional tones. Okay, so let's move on to the next phase of the webinar, and we're finally ready to look into the real cause of all your negative emotions, habits, beliefs, thoughts, and limitations. So where is it all coming from? So let's go and have a look at that, and in order to do that we're going to start with looking at who are you. Yes, I know who you are. Not personally, of course, yet, but I know how you